Here, standing in front of us.
The tournament's Tissot MVP is none other than
Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her day.
Something happened in Puerto Rico that historians will have to admit. The whole basketball world witnessed a seismic shift in power as the status quo shattered in real time. A quiet force returned, swiftly restructuring the competitive environment. The trophy tells one tale, but the tension that exists behind the scenes is considerably more interesting than any final score. Now that the international arena has proved that the attack is most effective when directed by a once-in-a-generation floor general, isn't it time for the veterans to embrace reality and relinquish complete control over what happens next? Okay. Here we are again, seeing the basketball powers that be squirm in their seats as they face their own blunders. Anyone who paid attention to what happened in San Juan saw something that certainly drove some coaching staff running for damage control. We are witnessing a dramatic rearrangement of the whole United States basketball power structure. And it's safe to assume that the reception has not been universally positive. I am completely different off the court than I am on it. When I stand between the lines, it's as if I'm there to kill. Here's the thing. Nobody expected this outcome. Caitlin Clark entered that facility with more criticism and skepticism than most athletes encounter throughout their careers. She was recuperating from one of the most catastrophic injury sequences in recent memory. Ankle issues, bone damage, groin tears. The list seemed endless. Throughout that disastrous 2025 campaign, her body appeared to be fighting back against her. It had been 239 days since she had participated in a significant game. 239 days. It's practically an eternity of seeing your competitive advantage erode into uncertainty for someone working at that level. The doubters were ready. They were prepared with their stories, waiting for any hint of reluctance or physical compromise. Even her most ardent admirers were a little nervous. However, over those 8 months, nobody saw that Caitlin wasn't only healing. She was turning that annoyance into a volcanic eruption. She did not come to Puerto Rico to take things slowly. She came to prove to everyone in attendance, teammates, coaching staff, and most importantly, naysayers, who controls the narrative when she's healthy.
Caitlin Clark is officially the MVP of the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifier tournament that was just held in Puerto Rico. Team USA went undefeated. And it's kind of crazy because Caitlin Clark actually only started one game in this entire tournament, but clearly she had the greatest impact. The coach at times was also playing her in like the 3-4 position, which is so wild. She's a true point guard and literally everyone does better when she is running the point. And she led the team in assists per game with 6.4 per game. And she also led the team in efficiency at a 14.6, which is something that FIBA uses, the WNBA and NBA don't. But essentially, it's a math equation that figures out your efficiency on the court, and she led Team USA. She also led the team in overall points at 58 points, but Clea Copper actually led in points per game at like 12.5 points per game. And Caitlin played around 20-ish minutes in each of these games. And remember, guys, this is Caitlin Clark's senior debut for Team USA because she was not invited to the 2024 Olympics. And actually, in her first ever game for Team USA, she had a double-double with 12 points and 12 assists. But beyond just the numbers, Caitlin Clark changes the entire game the minute that she steps on the court. You can see how other teams change their defense just to make sure that they are guarding her. Like so many teams were switching to a box and one whenever she stepped on the court. Just the gravity that she has when she's on the court, the quickness of the game, the speed gets so much faster when Caitlin Clark is in the game. And honestly, it's a super exciting brand of basketball. I loved watching her play in these Team USA games, even if it wasn't that many minutes. I also loved seeing her and Paige and Angel cook together. But that's it for this Team USA World Qualifier thing that they were doing. They did qualify for the World Cup, and we'll just have to tune in September. Congrats, Caitlin, on the MVP.
Let's look at the coaching dynamic because this is where things get absolutely crazy. Consider Cara Lawson. She became command of Team USA in September 2025, and this tournament was her introduction. She arrives with this nothing is given, everything is earned mindset, which often translates to, I'm going to bench the most electrifying player on the planet to establish my dominance. And this is exactly what happened in Game 1 versus Segal. Lawson used an experienced, eclectic starting lineup that included Chelsea Gray, Ka Copper, and Jackie Young. The statement couldn't be clearer. Caitlin, take your seat.
Her debut with the senior team, the double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO.
But then the consequences come. Lawson replaced the starting midway through the first period and called in the reserves. Caitlin enters, and on her very first possession, literally her first touch in a senior national team suit, she tosses a no-look pass to Monique Billings for an easy basket, followed by another assist rather than a jumper. Suddenly, all that anticipated rust appeared to be immaculate execution. Caitlin had 17 points and 12 assists in just 19 minutes when the final buzzer sounded on the 110-46 route. That's the second highest assist total in tournament history. Lawson had to face reporters and publicly admit that the second unit managed by Caitlin took the team to a whole new level. The veteran contingent's internal disarray could be heard clearly. As it turns out, when you have a player with superhuman court vision, the system becomes secondary and the domination persists. Game 2 and 3 had identical narratives, were efficient, subtle, and utterly deadly in control. By Game 4 against New Zealand, Lawson had finally done what logic had demanded all along. She added Caitlin to the starting lineup. And what happened? Caitlin scored 14 points and 6 assists in a 111-46 annihilation, appearing almost bored. She led the entire roster in assists by a large margin. She outperformed Olympic gold medalists who had been directing offenders long before she got a driver's license. The attack merely behaves differently when she commands it. However, success is inextricably linked to controversy. Let's talk about those viral photographs of Caitlin seeming uneasy near Stephanie White. The internet entirely melted down. There was widespread speculation that something was fundamentally wrong, implying that an intervention was required to analyze team chemistry. It's almost funny how afraid people are of any tension. But when you return from an 8-month sabbatical and try to merge with a room full of enormous personalities, some friction is unavoidable. However, Caitlin did answer. She was open about how different it felt from her experience with Indiana Fever. At home, she is the center of attention. On Team USA, she is surrounded by stars who all believe they deserve to be the central figure. Her ability to play at a greater speed and trust the surrounding talent indicates a level of maturity that will most likely shatter the prima donna narrative right away. The coaching staff no longer considered her a supplementary addition. They regarded her as the cornerstone. Then came Spain, the final test. A larger, harder, and more experienced international team. Lawson actually had to return to Duke for NCAA preparations. So Nate Tibbetts took leadership in a contest that tightened in the fourth quarter. The rotation shrank to just 8 players. Guess who was among them? Caitlin comes off the bench and contributes 7 points and 7 assists, securing an 8,470 triumph. Perfect 5-0 tournament. When the FIA declared the MVP, it was unquestionably clear. Caitlin Clark, 24, was named the best player in the competition. She led the qualifying tournament in assists. She shot 40% from deep. She made everyone else on the court appear to move in slow motion. The Indiana Fever's social media crew undoubtedly broke their keyboards trying to post the announcement quickly enough. But here's the part that undoubtedly has the old guard worried. We are undergoing a major generational transformation. The veterans who have set the benchmark for the past decade are getting older. The question used to be whether Caitlin will be part of the future. Now, the question is whether she represents the entire future. When the governing body of international basketball posts on Instagram about your incredibleness and hands you an MVP medal before the World Cup even starts, the message is clear. The Berlin World Cup comes in September, and Team USA is aiming for their 12th title. They are unquestionably the favorites, but the attacking identity now rests squarely with a player who only months ago was unsure whether her ankle would ever fully heal. The rest of the world has reviewed the footage. They've seen what she can accomplish when surrounded by skill. If she can do this after 8 months of nothing but recovery, imagine how she'll look after a full summer of professional competition. It is a nightmarish scenario for every other country. What makes this especially pleasant is that none of it was guaranteed. The body failed her 4 times in a single season. The fans were in a panic. The doubters were writing her obituary as an elite force. Nonetheless, she entered San Juan and answered every question in 5 games. The groin discomfort has been erased, the bone bruise is unimportant, and the reluctance is non-existent. She most certainly practiced while sleeping, as indicated by her performance. USA Basketball has always won because of its depth and system. They never required a famous rescuer, but something changed that week. When the prize was presented, every coach, teammate, and even the FIA pointed to the same individual. When the margin was narrow and the pressure was on, the ball was in her hands. And if that doesn't scream captain to the rest of the world, I'm not sure what will. Carol Lawson may have begun the tournament aiming to set the tone, but Caitlin Clark completed it by establishing the entire agenda for the following decade. Consider the games in which the veterans appear to be trying to run the offense through a wall. Chelsea Gray is excellent, but the pace of the game has shifted. The game is no longer only about sets. It is about gravity. Caitlin's importance is so great that even when she isn't shooting, she is the most significant player on the court. You could sense the jealousy in how some of the rotations were handled early on. It's difficult to be the program's face for 5 years and then see someone return from an 8-month hiatus and capture the MVP trophy. Caitlin Clark has a psychological advantage that few players can match. She has been probed, prodded, and poked again by the media and the establishment, and she continues to win. The international referees refused to follow the old guard's unwritten norms. They spotted a player being fouled and blew the whistle. They noticed a player making the lead plays and gave her the trophy. The domestic league has long battled with this level of objectivity. So now we're looking toward Berlin. The roster will be packed, but for the first time, it appears that the hierarchy has been irrevocably dented. You can't put the genie back in the bottle after seeing the offense flow so well with Caitlin in charge. That level of efficiency under Caitlin's leadership cannot be reversed. Returning to the old ponderous veteran manner feels like a huge step back. The establishment can attempt to spin it any way they want. They can talk about leadership and expertise, but the supporters remember what they saw in Puerto Rico. They saw the future, and it has the number 22. She was not broken after 239 days away. They simply made her more deadly. She's rested, well, and carries a shiny new MVP trophy to remind everyone that she is the indisputable court queen. Instant envy exists, but so does reality. A freight train cannot be stopped by blowing its whistle. Carol Lawson faces a difficult challenge in balancing a locker room that is clearly divided between the past and the future. But if she's clever, she'll know that the simplest way to win gold in Berlin is to get out of the way and let Caitlin do what she does best. The legacy players will have to make a choice. They can join the ride and receive their medals, or they can continue to defend their land while watching the game pass them by. Based on what occurred in San Juan, the game has already passed them by. The numbers are too large, the skill is too clear, and the hardware is already in place. It's a whole new world, and Caitlin Clark is at the top of it. Team USA's 12th crown is on the line. And for the first time, a 24-year-old is paving the way to the gold medal without regard for your feelings or tenure. She just worries about the bucket. And in Puerto Rico, she demonstrated that she has never been better at acquiring them. As September approaches, the cacophony will only increase. Every game will be a referendum on the newly formed Team USA. Millions of fans will examine every rotation. Every look exchanged between a player and a coach will be recorded, but none of it will matter when the ball is dropped. Caitlin Clark has shown that she can manage the noise, the injuries, and the envy. Now all she has to do is deal with the rest of the world. The takeover is no longer a rumor. It is a documented reality, supported by the FIA and confirmed on the court. The captain's label may not be official on the jersey yet, but everyone who watched the tournament knows who is leading the squad through the storm. The old guard may feel envious, but they should become accustomed to the view from the passenger seat. The hierarchy has been shattered, and the new era of basketball has begun. If you enjoyed this discussion of how the international stage affected the game's future, please like it. It contributes significantly to the channel's growth. Don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth looks into the subjects that the mainstream media ignores. See you at the next one.